We're here to discuss about our last topic in our descriptive statistics topic. Okay? In this meeting, we talked about and speak about graphs, where we discuss about bar charts and bar chart for categorical variable and histogram for quantitative variables. Okay? So this time we'll be talking about the box plot. Okay? So box plot is um, a graphical representation of our data sets or the data sets in our distribution. Okay? This basically displays the five number summary, which includes our minimum, maximum value, okay, our first quartile, our median, and our third quartile. It also displays possible outliers for extreme values in our given data set. Okay, so let's start with our um, what do you call this graph. So you can see here, okay, you have your um, interquartile range. Basically, that's again Q3 minus Q1. Okay. And you have here your measure of center, median. Okay. So you can see here that it's a symmetric distribution unless if your median is if your median is or if your median lies in this area, you can see that it's asymmetrical or it's right skewed. Okay, or skewed to the right. Okay, for the minimum value, you have your minimum in the data set. Maximum is the maximum value in the data set. Okay. So we'll compute later on for the outliers. Okay. So to get for the lower bound here, so, so you have your Q1 minus 1.5 times your interquartile range. So any value below that is considered to be an outlier. Okay. So for maximum, you have QC. This should be plus, not minus. So this is plus 1.5 times multiplied or times the interquartile rate. Okay. So any value that goes beyond this value is considered to be your multiplier. Okay. So let's have um. So this is the detailed um description of each of the numbers. Okay, it's called to be a five number summary. So you have in a five number summary, you have your minimum, first quartile, okay, your median, third quartile, and your maximum. Basically, you can compute for the IQR by getting the difference of quartile 3 and quartile 1. Okay, so you have also outliers. Okay, so you have here the actual formula for it. Okay, so let's have an example. So we find the maximum minimum or the five number summary of the following data: 23, 42, 12, 10, 15, 14, and 9. Okay, so the first order of business is you need to arrange the data set in ascending order. So you now have these values, okay, for the data set arranged in ascending order. After that, you have to get the five number summary. So you can start with the minimum value. You have 9, okay, and you get the maximum value to 42. Okay. For the median, you have to divide again the or you get the middle value of the given distribution. So since this is an odd number of data sets, or values in the data set. So you have 14 as your median. Okay. You also have the first quartile, which is the the first quartile is the lower bracket or lower parameters in your data distribution. So you get 10 as a middle value. Okay. So for the next one, upper bracket, you have 23 as is the middle value for the set of values. Okay. So you can now make use of this to compute for possible outliers. Okay. So what's our IQR? So our IQR is equal to Q3 minus Q1. So it's equal to 23 minus 10. So your IQR is now 13. Okay. So you have an IQR of 13. So now let's compute for the values for our possible outliers. Okay. So for the possible outliers, for the possible outlier, so you have again Q1 minus 1.5 times IQR. Okay. So you have Q1 is 10 minus 1.5 times 13, you get 19.5. So your lower um your lower values, if anything below or any value below negative 9.5, this was considered to be an outlier. Okay. For Q3, for the upper bracket outliers, so you have Q3 plus 1.5, 1.5. Our IQR is 13. So we have 23 plus 1.5 times 13, which is 19.5. So you have 42 and so any value greater than 42.5, 42.5 is considered to be an outlier. So in our data set, you can see that there's no outlier in our, you can see that we don't have any outliers. Okay. So let's now start creating the graph for this. For our what do you call it? Our what's the allow me first to um clear the spaces here so we have an area to work. Okay. Just the note to here. So we have this space. Okay. So let me clear the screen or the writings here already. So let's start to draw our box plot. Okay. So we have nababa na naman, vertical. So we start with sorry. So let's start with the values here sa baba. So we have 5, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 40. So we have value 40. So let's start with plotting our media. So start with the media. So we have 14. So it's around here. Okay. For our Q1, we have 10. So we have it here. For our Q3, we have 23. So it's around, sorry, so it's around here. Okay. So we now have our books here. So we now just want to show our whisker. So we have 9. So merong konti lang dito, minimum. So this is our whisker for the minimum value and whisker for the maximum value. So we have 42. So this now is our box, but we need to label it. So we have here Q1, median, median. We have our Q3. We also have our maximum, and the min. Okay. So what this but um tells us, you can see that the shape of the distribution is asymmetric. So you can see that there's more values dito sa part na to. Okay? So it's right or skewed to the right. Okay? Our median, we already have our median. We also have our Q3 and Q1. Here, in the example, we don't have any outliers. Okay? So that's for Boxplot. It's very simple. Just have to get the 5 number summary that includes the minimum, maximum, median, first quartile, and third quartile values. So for the extreme values, you just have to multiply the value 1.5 to the IQR. You get the difference for Q1, and for Q3 upper value, you have 1.5 minus the IQR, and then you need to add this to the value of the third quartile. Okay, so that's for the 5 number summary or box. So don't forget to label your diagram or graph. Okay, so it's now time for you to answer the challenge. So we'll be creating later on a link, the submission link in our MBLE course, right? So let me briefly describe to you our activity. So you assume that you were selected as a judge in a municipality contest search for the greenest barangay in Philippines. So where you will select the friendly barangay based on their annual electric consumption. So the organizers wanted to select the winners from the participants. So the organizers provided you with a list of monthly power consumption history in kilowatts, and the winner of the barangay will, with the least monthly electric consumption in the previous year, determine you can determine the winner using the 5 number summary. So the smallest median, okay, is the winner. But you have to plot each of the box plot for each of the given data set for barangay A, barangay B, and barangay C. And then when you compare the values, you will have to declare the winner. Okay, so that's all for our last topic, box plot or box or whisker. Yeah, okay. You also have to describe later on the shape of the distribution. Okay, so that's it. Thank you for listening.